The city skyline glittered beneath the velvet curtain of winter dusk. Tall buildings stood like sentinels against the cold, indifferent sky. Inside the 47th floor of Graves Enterprises, silence lingered like a ghost. Ethan Graves, the company's enigmatic CEO, stood with one hand in his pocket and the other gripping a tumbler of untouched scotch. His sharp gray suit was as perfect as his reputation, cold, unapproachable, and precise. It was Christmas Eve. Everyone had left hours ago. The office was dark except for the muted golden glow of a desk lamp and the soft hum of the rain kissing the window pane. Most people had rushed home to their families, to warm fires, laughter, and gifts. Ethan had stayed. He always did. Behind him sat a polished mahogany desk, untouched by personal effects. No framed photos, no quirky coffee mugs, no signs of life, love, or memories. Just contracts, spreadsheets, and digital silence. From a drawer, he pulled out a small, worn photograph one he hadn't looked at in years. A much younger Ethan, arm around his mother and father, all of them smiling at a Christmas tree. It was before the accident, before he lost everything. He flipped it back over, face down. Suddenly, movement on the sidewalk below caught his eye. Curious, he leaned in. A little girl and her mother were standing under a flickering street lamp. The woman's coat looked thin, the umbrella broken and bent. They held a cardboard sign, "Home-made cookies for love, happy holidays from Ellie and Mom." They smiled at strangers and offered small silver, wrapped bundles in the cold. Ethan stared, confused and strangely drawn. What kind of person gave instead of asked on a night like this? Something compelled Ethan to go down. Maybe it was the silence, maybe the memory of his mother's laughter. Or maybe it was the haunting loneliness gnawing at him, louder than ever. Outside, the chill pierced through his coat. The wind carried the scent of cinnamon and wet asphalt. He approached slowly. The girl, bundled in a too large pink jacket with wool mittens, looked up and smiled brightly. "Hi, mister, would you like a cookie? They're special, they have Christmas magic." Ethan blinked. He hadn't heard a child speak to him in years. Christmas magic? He asked dryly. "Yup," she said, handing him one wrapped in foil. "It's okay if you don't have anyone to celebrate with. We don't either, so we share what we can." His fingers closed around the warm little package. He didn't eat it, not yet. Her honesty startled him. It wasn't pity, it was pure kindness. The girl tilted her head curiously. "You don't have a family, too?" Ethan froze. "No." He whispered, "Not anymore." The woman, her mother, stepped forward. Her eyes were tired but kind. "I'm so sorry if she no." Ethan interrupted gently. "She's right." The little girl, Ellie, looked up and said cheerfully, "Then you should come eat with us. We have sandwiches and soup. It's not fancy, but it's warm." Ethan was about to decline. But the cold in his chest wasn't from the weather. It was something deeper, something long buried. "Where do you live?" he asked quietly. Ellie's apartment was small, tucked away in a worn-down building in Brooklyn. The wallpaper was peeling, the furniture second-hand, but it was alive, warm, and glowing with love. Paper snowflakes hung from the ceiling. A tiny Christmas tree stood proudly on a side table, decorated with handmade stars and cotton ball garlands. Ethan sat awkwardly at their dining table. Maria, Ellie's mother, served steaming bowls of vegetable soup with cracked ceramic bowls, and offered grilled cheese sandwiches made with care. Ellie beamed like she was hosting a royal feast. "We say a thank you before eating," Ellie said. She clasped her hands, and Ethan, surprisingly, followed suit. "Thank you for our food, for each other, and for new friends," Ellie said. Ethan swallowed hard. No one had called him a friend in years. They ate, laughed, and talked about the silliest things. Ellie asked about his favorite color, his favorite book, and if he liked kittens or puppies more. Ethan listened, smiled, and even chuckled. "You smile weird," Ellie noted innocently, "but I like it." After dinner, Maria shared how they made cookies every week to sell at local markets. Business was tough, but Ellie insisted on giving away a few each time. "She says love multiplies when you share it," and Maria smiled. Ethan, once again, was stunned by the generosity of people who had so little. Back in his towering office days later, Ethan stared at the foil, wrapped cookie still sitting on his desk. He hadn't eaten it, not because he didn't want to, but because it reminded him of something precious, something real. He canceled a board meeting that day. Something in him had shifted. Later that evening, he returned to the same Brooklyn apartment. Maria answered the door, surprised. "I didn't expect you back," she said. "I have something to ask." Ethan said, "I own a chain of bakeries, 23 across 5 states. I want to feature Ellie's cookies in every store." Maria looked shocked. "What? Why?" "Because they're filled with more heart than anything I've ever tasted. But we don't have licenses, we're not trained bakers, I'll handle everything. Just keep doing what you do best, baking with love." Tears filled Maria's eyes. "You don't have to do this for us." "You're wrong," Ethan said, his voice soft but steady. "I do, because you reminded me what it means to be human." It was Christmas Eve again. The streets were covered in fresh snow. The city buzzed with lights and laughter. Ethan didn't spend the evening in his office. He was in the bakery. Ellie's Crumbs of Love, now a household name. Maria ran it full-time. Ethan helped when he could, usually handling business deals and supplies. But tonight, he wore a silly red apron and helped pass out cookies with Ellie. Their cookies were now sold in 50 locations. But Ellie still made sure they gave away at least 10% for people who need hugs in cookie form. Back at their apartment, which Ethan had helped renovate, they gathered by the fireplace. Wrapped gifts sat under the now full-sized tree. Ellie snuggled into Ethan's side, clutching a cup of hot cocoa. "You are the best Christmas gift we ever got," she whispered. Ethan looked down, eyes glistening, and said, "No, Ellie, you were mine." Maria looked on, smiling. She didn't just see a wealthy CEO anymore, she saw a man who had found his heart again. And for the first time in decades, Ethan Graves felt something he thought he had lost forever. This heart-touching story reminds us that the richest souls are often those who have the least yet give the most. Ethan Graves had all the wealth money could buy, but he lived in silence, burdened by loneliness. It wasn't power or possessions that changed him, it was the gentle kindness of a little girl, her warm cookie, and one simple question that cracked open his heart. Ellie's innocent words, "You don't have a family too," became the moment everything changed. In her selfless invitation, Ethan discovered something far greater than fortune. He found belonging, laughter, and a family he never expected. In a world obsessed with success and numbers, this story reminds us that true meaning lies in connection, compassion, and love. Sometimes all it takes is a small act of kindness, one moment of courage, one open door to transform a life. Let this story serve as a tender reminder. No one is truly alone, and no heart is ever beyond healing, especially when touched by the warmth of humanity. Would you like this as a voiceover script or want me to format it for video narration?